I gotta get my camera set up first. Sorry about that. So, as 4th of July weekend comes up, I've been thinking about my mom. She passed away in 2014 on her birthday. She was 71 years old. She died from pancreatic cancer. And so her birthday would be in a few days. She would have been turning 80. So it's just been making me think about her and think about things. Um, she she taught me a lot. She taught me a lot of things that even just now I'm realizing that she gave me the foundations of being who I am today. And those tools have shaped my life. One of the first tools that she gave me is that you're never a victim, and you can control what you can control. And what do I mean by that? Things happen in your life that you have no control over. They always will. Your car will break down, people will do nasty things, tragedies will happen, but you have the choice to decide how that affects your life. And it can affect your life in a positive way or a negative way. And one of the great things about my mom dying from pancreatic cancer is that I was fortunate enough that with the job we were doing in pet boarding and computer work and our farm and everything, is that my husband was so supportive that he understood that taking care of my mom had to be done. I needed to go be with her. And so there was never any arguments, no questions. No. He supported me 100% in that decision. And so she was diagnosed in November, and I pretty much went up there to live with her. She lived in North Las Vegas. I pretty much went to live with her in January. She'd had some challenges. The chemo wasn't working. They switched her to another chemo. She passed out. She went to the emergency room. She was in the hospital. So I was supporting her, in the hospital. And then she finally gets to come home. And I was in the bathroom, and she went into the kitchen to get me some money to go buy groceries. And she fell down and she broke her hip. We were home from the hospital for maybe 30 minutes, and she broke her hip. And so we had to, she didn't want me to call 911. She didn't want to go to the hospital. We sat on the floor and we cried. But I called 911. They came, they got her. It ends up that I didn't understand that when she was in the rehab hospital, she wasn't really drinking water like she should be. I saw her with a bottle to her mouth all the time, but she was just she was just wetting her mouth. She wasn't really drinking. And so she was dehydrated. That's what led to her big passing out. And she had thrush in her mouth really bad, again, because of the chemo. And then she had COPD. So the inhaler that she's been using for years often can cause thrush. But with all the chemo and her being immune compromised, it actually was a lot worse than I realized. And so they couldn't even repair her hip for about a week. They had to stabilize her, get all her electrolytes up and get her stronger. And she started to develop pneumonia. I'm so glad she didn't go down that route because she had very weak lungs. And she got the surgery. As they said, they even topped her off with an extra pint of blood to make her a little stronger. But then she went to a rehab hospital and she was there for a month. And during that time, every day, I was staying in her apartment. Every day I go in and sit with her all day long and make sure she got the care that she needed. And then finally she got to come home. By that time, we decided that hospice was the way to go. And I'd set everything up so it was all nice and comfy for her. And I got to spend my mom's last 6 months with her full time, talking with her, enjoying her, and appreciating her. And I was even with her, of course, when she passed away at home. And I'm really glad I got to do that. Now, again, my point with this story is I could be looking back on what a horrible time it was and having to take care of my mom in hospice. Or I can look back on it as that it was an opportunity for me to spend time with my mom and just really enjoy being with her for the last time, so that when she passed, I knew that I'd done all I could, and that I had supported her in her time of need, even though she would have never asked me to do that. So that's where my mind's been a little bit. But these same ideas come to your health. And often, to make changes in your life, so many books talk about it's best to start little. Sometimes we don't feel like a little thing is important, but that's how everything is. If you start a new job, start a new skill, you don't know anything, you have to learn, it takes time. And if you want to start a new habit or change something in your life, you have to start little. And then you have to build on the why power, not the willpower. You have to have a real motivation for doing it. Nowadays, study after study after study has shown that exercise, and by exercise, I mean being physically active, which is not doing like what I'm doing right here. But I have a treadmill right there that I use every day. So that just moving, just walking, just being active all day long is one of the easiest and best things for overall health. Our body is kind of designed on the concept of use it, quiet down, use it or lose it. So that's enough, babies. It's enough. So if you don't use it, you lose it, and your functions just don't work as well. And when I say moving all day, it's like the studies are showing that it's not just that you exercise, it's that you don't sit for long periods of time, that you shouldn't sit for more than an hour or two, and you should get up and move around. Because, if you think about it, that's probably what our ancestors did. They didn't just sit in a chair for 8 hours. So when I talk exercise, I'm not talking about going to the gym and lifting weights or a lot of other things that you could do. I mean, they're all great, but just move. I love my Fitbit. I've had my Fitbit for 7 years, different versions. And as soon as they added the reminder to move every hour, which they did quite a few years ago, they do it like for 8 hours, and I changed mine to 12 hours. So mine does it from 7 to 7. If I don't move, it vibrates at 10 till the hour to tell me I haven't gotten 250 steps. This is shown to help with your overall health. It helps with your, exercise has been the only thing that's been clinically proven to help keep your brain healthier. And a lot of the studies, they just do comparison. They say, oh, if it's good for the heart, it should be good for the brain, because most brain problems are vessel problems. So, yeah, but they're not actually panning out the way they thought they would. So, exercise helps with dementia and preventing dementia, at least a little. Exercise helps keep your body functioning. It keeps your joints lubricated. It keeps your muscles strong. It keeps your bones strong. It helps. Now they're finding exercise may help in depression and other things. So obviously, exercise by moving is causing certain hormones to be released and different things to happen in your body that just make a big difference in your overall health. And it can just be walking. And it doesn't even have to be like extremely exertive walking, although that's good too. Now remember, different types of exercises can promote different types of health benefits. But here I'm just talking kind of the generic that moving is good for you. Just getting up and marching in place on a TV commercial while you're watching TV. That's got benefit for however long the commercial is. Just march in place. That's good exercise. And or get up and run around your house if you don't want to march in place. Commercials can be kind of long. There's just so many things you can do. The key is to find what works for you. And it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be a huge commitment. And then you have to have the self-compassion to not beat yourself up if for some reason you don't do it. The idea is that, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. If 1 hour you don't get up and move, that you say, well, there's no point in moving all day. Well, that's not really true. So just, okay, I didn't move this hour. I forgot I was doing something. I'm going to move next hour. And you do it. It's not really a pass fail. It's kind of like life. It's a journey. It's a daily experience. And there are just so many different ways to be healthier. So that's kind of the physical, like the exercise side. The eating side. If you can just lessen one really, I'm going to say bad food. Now, by bad food, what I actually mean is highly processed food. If you could just cut down whatever it is that you eat, just cut out one highly processed food a week that, let's say you eat donuts every morning. And I'm just using donuts. If you could just say, okay, well, I'm only going to eat donuts 6 mornings, and one morning you're going to eat something healthier. There you go. Start small. A lot of studies are showing, and they keep saying it over and over again, but it doesn't seem to sink into people, is to eat a lot of different colored fruits and vegetables. And if you don't like vegetables and you're not going to eat vegetables, then maybe you should go ahead and eat some fruit. Do you like fruit? I mean, people sometimes put down fruit because, fruit's got sugar, it's this, it's that. But fruit is going to be better than a candy bar. And the great thing there is that you're getting, each different color of fruits and vegetables has a different set of chemicals that help do different things in the body, that help, that are like antioxidants, that help do things. And so if you don't get all these different colors, then your body is missing certain tools to do certain things, and it'll try to substitute or compensate. But it's best to get all these different things. And we really still, although they keep studying it, don't fully understand it. That's why, if you take a multivitamin, that's vitamin, vitamins and minerals. Those are like things that they've studied for a long time and figured out we need those. There's a lot of things that are like micronutrients that they really don't understand that well. They're starting to see their importance, flavonoids and just different chemicals. And a lot of times your body doesn't need a whole lot of them, but it does need some. So if you don't eat any fruits or vegetables, then if you could just add one fruit a week, one piece of fruit a week, there you go. And when I'm saying that, I'm saying preferably fresh fruit. But to be honest, if you don't eat any fruit at all, then canned fruit would be better than no fruit. See, it's all kind of a scale of things. So, and it's got to work in your life, but you have to make a decision to do that. If you have a lot of gut problems, you need to listen to your body. If when you eat something it makes you not feel well, then maybe you shouldn't eat it. Now, the caveat to that is that when you eat, you're feeding your microbiome in your gut. And what grows there is very dependent on what you feed it. Some bacterias like to eat basically hamburgers and French fries. They like greasy food and all that stuff. And others like, we'll say, bananas. Well, obviously, if you eat hamburgers all the time, you're going to have a whole lot of those type of bacteria in there. And then if you suddenly eat a whole lot of bananas, you're not going to feel well because you don't have the bacteria that eats bananas. And so your system will be off for a while. We actually know this very well. If anybody who's had a dog knows that they talk about, don't just change your dog's food, you'll give them diarrhea. Well, guess what? Humans are kind of like that too. We're a little bit, obviously I'd say we're not as sensitive, but then again, we don't eat such a routine diet as a lot of people do. A lot of dogs do. So we know that changing diet can cause digestive issues, but we don't really think about that with ourselves. Well, we do have the same problem. So again, that's where slow and steady gets you where you want to go. Big and fast and hard changes tend to be so uncomfortable and so hard for your body, they're hard to stick with. So just a little change, just pick something. It could even be as simple as, okay, I eat a lot of desserts, or I eat lunch out every day. Well, maybe bag lunch one day and bag a healthy lunch. And by healthy, I just mean get some healthier bread and just healthier as well. Obviously less processed is better. So if you're going to make a sandwich, you shouldn't be putting ham or luncheon meat on it, really, because those actually are pretty processed. And almost everybody agrees that ham is probably a carcinogen, unfortunately, just like bacon. So sad. Everybody loves bacon, yet it's pretty much agreed that it's bad for you, not for the fat and everything else, but for the carcinogens it carries. But there's something you can do, something healthy you can have. And, start just picking a little bit healthier foods. And then as you do it, you'll start to discover what works for you. Portion size is another thing that can be done. If you eat big portions and you're eating really way too much food, one way to cut down is to just eat a little less. I still, obviously many years after my gastric bypass surgery, I guess now we're 13 years out, I still use the small utensils to eat. I also use small plates. See, and I got small forks. These are seafood forks. I still do that to help make sure that I eat slowly and small bites. And then studies over and over again have shown that if you put your food on a smaller plate, you eat less. So all you have to do is pick some little area in food you want to work on and go for it. Give it a try. And be open to that it's a trial of discovery. It's not a trial of success and failure. It's like, well, does this work? And if it does work, okay, now what? Now what? Okay, it doesn't work. Well, now what? It's getting you on the path. It's not like school where it's a pass fail. This is something that theoretically you should do for the rest of your life. Always kind of slowly moving towards eating things that are better for you as opposed to eating things that are not as good for you. Not that you eliminate anything. It's just kind of getting more good stuff versus the more bad stuff. Sleep. Sleep is so essential, and yet I'm going to say more often young people are horrible about prioritizing it. There's been a lot of studies on sleep. You know, if you've read anything about sleeping, they say it needs to be dark, it needs to be cold, it needs to be quiet, it needs to be a routine. You know, they recommend not doing something really stimulating before you go to sleep, not having a lot of blue light. Everybody has their own thing. I started wearing a blindfold about 2 years ago, and yeah, it's all hairy. I love it. Um, you know, I think this, yeah. I started occasionally wearing a blindfold when my hubby and I were traveling in the van, because when you're sleeping at a rest stop, even though you have stuff over the windows, sometimes the headlights of cars would just like pierce in and hit you. And for some reason that was disturbing. It would like wake me up. Probably because it would still go through your eyelid and still be bright. So I would wear just an El Cheapo mask when I was at rest stops and stuff. And then after my hubby passed, I realized that I have a lot of light. I have a lot of electronics and stuff around me. That's another thing that they say can disturb some people. But I like that way. I don't have to worry about taping over lights, because I used to tape over lights and things like that. Now I don't worry about it. I just put my mask on. It's fine. Now the dogs, on the other hand, as soon as it starts to get light, they want mama up. So haven't been able to fix that, but that's okay. I love my babies. Um, I got a comfy mask. It's got the nice and soft and everything, but it's something to try. Um, the temperature, I like it really cold, so I do that. Then again, the dogs all cuddle with me and everything. So if it's not really cold, it gets hot with dogs all up against you and all. I don't follow the routine too much. I do a little. My main thing I use for white noise is certain television shows, obviously without commercials. I started doing that a long time ago, back in the early 90s, using because I, even as a child, I had problems getting to sleep. I have like the racing mind, and I find that if I'm listening to a television show that I've already watched or a movie I've already watched, it because I already know it, I don't need to stay awake to see the ending. Plus, it's recorded, so I can go back to the same spot. It just helps keep my brain kind of like following along. And sometimes I can even like see what they're doing in my mind, even though my eyes are closed because I've seen it. So it's kind of like a meditation thing for me. So I still do that, and I especially do that when I'm in a hospital, because I need um, white noise over all the rattling bumping and crashing in the hospital. So, but everybody's got their own little thing that but you need to figure it out, and you need to try different stuff. I've always known that sleeping was important. So if I was studying or class or anything like that. So I guess I've always focused a little on sleeping. Another area of your life is your attitude. Attitude makes a difference on everything. Everything can be viewed as good or bad, kind of like the cup is half full or half empty. And your attitude makes all the difference in the world. There's a lot of beauty in the world. There's a lot of pain and suffering in the world. You can also, to some degree, decide what you let in. I don't watch news. I stopped watching like the regular news, and I pulled back from all that negativity when my husband got his brain cancer, because as his caregiver, I couldn't deal with the negativity and taking care of him and the chemo and the radiation and the surgeries and traveling and taking care of dogs and everything else, that it didn't add to my life. So I took it out. I do now read a little bit about what's going on in the world, but I don't focus on it. I have to say, for a while, I was kind of focused on that stuff a lot. And taking it out definitely, I think, has improved my life, because I'd rather be positive and feel good than negative or feeling sad. There's bad things that happen out there, but dwelling on them actually doesn't change them. Now, if it's something you can actually do something about, okay, you have a cause that you want to fight for, great. But then if you have a cause you're fighting for, you're focusing on the change, not on the problem. So it's a different mentality. Your health is one of the most important things you have. And if you've ever had health issues, you really understand that. I was frustrated just last month because I hurt my back, and then I was on cortisone. They gave me prednisone. They gave me a muscle relaxant. They gave me some opioids. They gave me a cortisone shot. I felt like crap for a couple of weeks because of all the drugs, but it made my back feel a little better. And then I had a hiatal hernia and a little bit of H. pylori, which is the bacteria that causes ulcers, and I also had inflammation. So they put me on a couple antibiotics and stuff. I was on that for 2 weeks, and that made me really sick. And I was miserable. And so the last couple of weeks I felt better. I'm so happy to be feeling better. Yay! Just it's hard when you don't feel well. And that's where, again, if you eat right and you exercise and you get sleep and you have a positive attitude, those things help. And they also help your body heal and take care of itself and do all the things it needs to do. I'm still working on these live streams, and I know that nobody's watching, but if anybody watches the replay and wants to give me feedback, please do. I'm going to be trying to do these multiple times a week, and I need to know what to talk about. Thank you. All right, doggies, look happy for everybody.